Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Landwehr, President and CEO of the Penn Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I'm spending a few minutes with each of the candidates who are running for a 3-year term on our board of directors that begins in 2025. We're recording these interviews so that our members can get to know the candidates during the election period. Annually, you, our members, have the opportunity to elect other members to serve on the chamber board. Additionally, our existing board then appoints candidates to the remaining seats. The first phase of the process is the member vote, which runs this year from November 1st to November 15th. And as a reminder, each business or nonprofit member gets just one ballot vote. So I'm pleased to be joined today by board candidate Robin McIntosh with Sail, Power, and Steam Museum. Welcome, and thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you. Fun to be here.
So in an effort to get to know Robin a little bit better, can you share some personal information with us?
Sure. I live in Camden. I've been here on and off since 1976. So it's one of those people that, I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could. I've been on and off in Camden. I've lived in Rockland and South Thomaston as well. My family owned a local small business in Camden way back when, a local hardware store by the Arch in Camden, which I guess is now Hammond Lumber, but it was used to be a small business way back. So I've worked here both in small businesses and big business. Oh, big for here anyway, big for Mid-Coast. And I live with my husband. We're sailors. My husband was a former town manager in the area. People may know him from Rockport for many years. So I've been involved with municipal government kind of things over the years as well.
Well, thank you for that. So tell us a little bit about your current role with Sail, Power, and Steam Museum.
Sure. I'm the executive director at the Sail, Power, and Steam Museum, and I don't think people know quite all we have here on site in the south end of Rockland. We're on Rockland's working waterfront, which is really exciting, on the former site of the Hurricane Island Outward Bound School, which actually, funnily enough, I worked here back in the 80s. So I keep joking that I started my career at 75 Mechanic Street, and I'll end my career at 75 Mechanic Street. But so we have a maritime museum, which people may or may not know, is founded by Jim Sharp, Captain Jim Sharp, and his wife back in 2007 when they purchased this property. A lot of maritime memorabilia and interesting things about the area in the museum, but we also have waterfront programs, which we're very lucky. Last year we purchased the waterfront property that was in front of us. So we have sailing and navigation classes and boat charters and all sorts of waterfront kind of related programs. One that we're known for a lot is Skiff, which is our Sail Kids for Free program. And that's teaching kids 8 to 14 years old to sail at no cost, because we really believe that the maritime experience is something that a lot of kids locally don't have access to. And so we want to make sure that whether they're visitors or local kids, they have the opportunity to experience that firsthand. We have a boathouse, and we have quite a collection of boats going back to Blackjack, which was a 1900 Wilbur Morse friendship sloop. She's one of the oldest ones afloat and is on the National Historic Registry. She was rebuilt here several years ago before I started working here. I've been here since 2019. We have Persistence, which is another friendship sloop, which was built by Carlton Simmons, or started by Carlton Simmons in 1967. We have Dynamite Payson boats. Dynamite Payson was a local boat builder who a lot of local people know. So there's this whole waterfront piece that we have. We also have an active marina, which I think a lot of people don't know. Excuse me. We have 25 moorings out in the harbor, which is actually in Owl's Head Harbor, but part of Rockland Harbor. And 25 moorings, and we have floats, or we have dinghy floats. And so we have a whole active marina business, which goes on here all summer long. And we have an office building. And in that office building, we have about 35 local small businesses rent space from us. We have the Children's Museum rent space from us, Station Maine, which is another nonprofit. So it's a small piece of property with a lot going on right here. And so I started in January last year. I had been the associate director for 4 years and just started as the executive director this year. So I've got my finger in a lot of pies with that.
I'll bet you do. So tell us a little bit too about your work history briefly, to the extent possible, and maybe
Sure.
share some call out accomplishments that you're particularly proud of.
Sure. Well, as I said, I started with small businesses. I've worked both in retail in Camden and tourism industries. I think my first job in Maine was at the Smiling Cow in Camden, and my dad owned a lumber yard, which I used to help out there. But mostly my career's been either in nonprofits, working in development, membership, fundraising, that kind of thing, or I also worked for a couple of for-profits, but mostly in marketing, which is kind of a sister to fundraising and membership. And I guess if I look at the things that I love the most about what I've done, I think one of the things is Midcoast Leadership Academy, which was a separate organization entirely, but that was an adult community leadership program, which sadly COVID kind of took a hit through COVID, but I was there, a program director, co-facilitator of that program for a long time, and we had couple hundred people go through that program, many of whom have served on the chamber board and other boards in the area, just really about learning the community. And it was such a fun project for me to work on because I learned more about the community. Every year was different. We moved around and I got to know a lot of people through that. So it's something I'd like to bring back. And a lot of people are asking about it. So it's a really good opportunity and I think really good for the business community in the area.
So, with something like that in mind, can you share a little bit too about how you are involved in the community in other ways through boards or volunteering?
Yeah, right now I'm not serving on much of anything in an official capacity. The museum has kept me very busy for the last couple of years. But in the past, I've served on a bunch of boards locally and in Portsmouth, New Hampshire as well. In Portsmouth, I was this chair of the Citywide Neighborhood Committee and the Economic Development Commission, both. And why I think that's interesting was because that was bringing economic and community development and working with the individual neighborhoods and helping them understand what was going on from a municipal perspective, and help in the other direction too, when the economic development group was looking at projects and trying to look at what the impact was on the residents. And it's sometimes those two things become silos and it's really difficult to make that connection. So I intentionally put myself in the intersection of where those two went. And I did that for quite a few years in Portsmouth, and it was really an interesting place to be. Locally, I've served on the board quite a while ago, but on both of our local humane societies. I was on a budget committee in Camden a couple of times. I chaired the budget committee for a year or two. I've served on CDAC, which is Camden's Community Economic Development Advisory Committee. And through when I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, actually, I guess I didn't say that as part of my work history. I was business development director at the Chamber of Commerce. I also served on REDAC, which is Rockland's Economic Development Advisory Committee. So a lot of stuff kind of in that municipal nonprofit economic development, community development world is where I've spent most of my time.
And so, as not a stranger, certainly to the chamber, why do you believe, though, that it's important to have it in our area?
It's been interesting to watch the chamber over the last few years. When I started there, I think in 2010, it was still two separate chambers. The one in Rockland, which was then called the Penobscot Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce, had actually been the merger of Thomaston and Rockland together. And then we eventually went with the Camden Rockport Lincolnville and merged those three. And I think the chamber has served a really interesting place in our community over a period of time, and it's changed. And I think it's probably changing again. And you know, it's something that's needs to be looked at constantly and how to get it to best serve our community. But because of where we are and we have such a large tourism industry around here, the chamber has served as a visitor center and a tourism guide for people, but then also working on the local level with local businesses that aren't necessarily tourism based and looking at how they best work within the community. I think one of the places where it's what I think is one of the most valuable pieces is in the networking that happens within the chamber, bringing different industries together, for-profits and nonprofits, and getting people to understand where the other sides are going. I think it builds community. within the business world. And I think that if we're going to be a successful economic driver in this area, it needs to be a community of businesses, not just a lot of individual businesses out in the community. And so that connection that the chamber brings to me is a really valuable piece of being a chamber member.
And so what do you think that you would bring to the chamber as a board member?
I think without without being the kind of person that comes in and says, this is the way we used to do it, and thinking that that's the answer. Sometimes it's the opposite of that, of saying this is what we used to do and it didn't work. But I think having worked at the chamber, I have a pretty good understanding of where it's been and where it could go. I've been out in the business community for a long time. I've worked in economic and community development, worked in marketing. I've worked with nonprofits. Yeah, just a general understanding of what our business community is and where we're going. And I think the chamber needs to stay on top of that. And again, advocating for the small businesses, the big businesses, and looking at how we can network and all work together to build that business community.
Well, great. So in these final few moments here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our members?
I don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
wish there was another question. No, I mean, I love our community. I love the area, and I think we have so much here, so untapped resources, things that we can continue to work on and bring people here from away. And I think that there's so many issues that we need to look at from different perspectives. And it's the more perspectives we have going into the chamber, the better. And I just love to participate in that.
Well, thank you so much for today and for your interest in serving on our board of directors.
Well, we'll see how it goes from here, but I look forward to it if it happens.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.